Hello, and welcome to Let the Growth Flow, a spiritual place to heal mind, body, and soul. My name is Alexis, and I'll be your host. My hope for this podcast is to help people learn about all things spiritual, at the same time, allowing themselves to heal in any way that they need to. I plan to do that by sharing my own spiritual experiences, as well as bringing other spiritual mentors onto the show. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Let the Growth Flow. So happy to have my listeners back. I am going to give you guys a little life update with what's been going on with me, and then I want to talk about expectations today. So let's see, the first story I think I wanted to tell you guys is last week I was walking my dog, and I've been really working on trying to be more present, more present when walking my dog, because I have been catching myself being on my phone, flipping through my email, catching up on social media when I'm walking my dog. And the times that I'm outside and walking and like in nature are the times that really help ground me down. So I'm trying to be more present. So I was watching my dog walk, I was looking at bushes, and then I hear this super loud crunch/crack. Now, I immediately knew what it was. I was covered in chills, and I turned around to see that I had stepped on a snail. I have never killed an animal before, so I immediately started having a little panic attack because I felt so bad. And I'm like, literally, I'm thinking back to this moment, and I was seriously freaking out. I was literally saying, like, in a low whisper, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I, like, ran back to my apartment, put my dog back because I didn't want him messing with the snail while I was trying to mess with the snail. And of course, as I'm like walking back to my apartment, I'm sitting there like trying to reassure myself that the snail is going to be okay. I was like, it's going to be alive. It's going to be okay. So I get back and I have my flashlight and I'm shining it on the snail, and it was squashed. It was still moving when I looked. So then that made me cry even harder because I'm like, oh my gosh, is it hurt? Is it in pain? I'm going to have to put it out of its misery so it's not in pain. I'm like, I can't even do that. There's no way. I'm like full blown crying. So I go back into my apartment, knock on my roommate's door, and I was like, you guys, and they're like, what's going on? And I was like, I stepped on a snail. And they came out and they walked over with me, and I live with a couple. So the male roommate he had picked the shell off, and the slug inside the shell, was still like moving. He's like, no, he's fine. He's fine. I think they were just trying to make me feel better. And then they were like, we both have stepped on snails too. And we bawled too, like on the floor crying. And I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't make me feel better, but made me feel better that they were crying too. And I was also I was so sad. I was so out of it. I felt it in my heart and my whole body. I just felt so awful. And then I went to check on the snail the next day and it had died. So I buried it. But it was so sad to experience the life going out of something and to know that I was the cause of it. It was definitely a new emotion for me and was very, very triggering. So that is my snail story, and I just felt the need to share that with you all. But today's episode, I really wanted to dive deeper into expectations, how we have expectations, and how oftentimes these expectations lead to us beating ourselves up when things don't go the way we had expected. So I'm bringing this up because it has been very prevalent in my life the past 2-3 weeks, and coming up time and time again with the friends I'm talking to, with my fiance, where it's like we have these expectations, and when they don't go this way, we feel like a failure. So I'm going to kind of share where I've been at with my business. I have these goals that I'm going to have 5 appointments every week, a mix of different things that I offer on my website. And if I don't reach that 5 appointments a week, I am extremely disappointed in myself. And my mindset shifts and I kind of spiral down where I'm like, oh my gosh, is this working? Am I doing things right? What can I be doing better? Am I presenting myself as my authentic me? All these questions. And it's always harder when you're talking to yourself to get yourself out of there and realize, okay, I'm just having these really crazy expectations. So I think what I want us all to try to do is to set those expectations, but move them more into like a goal category. So these are my goals, right? My ultimate goal is I want 5 appointments a week, every week. Now, does that mean if I have 1 appointment one week or 2 appointments one week, or maybe even zero, that I'm failing? No. And the quote that keeps sticking out to me is, you only fail if you stop, or you only fail if you give up. So, as long as we're out here every day continuing to work towards our dreams and taking steps forward and not sitting down and giving up and doing nothing, we are not failing. There's ebbs and flows to everything, ups and downs. There's going to be times where things are really, really great, and then there's going to be times when things are running more slow. But I think it's hard because as a society, we put a lot of emphasis on productivity and success. So we have that expectation that things need to be a certain way, or we need to be getting this much stuff done to feel like we are accomplished and feel good with where we're at. So I want everybody to take a big step back from their life this week and ask yourself, like, are my expectations getting the best of me? How can I change my mindset, change my expectations to goals, and celebrate the little successes, the little wins? Because if we don't get the ultimate goal or the ultimate expectation, we think it's a failure also. We don't realize that we need to celebrate that one good thing that happened, even though it was still one good thing, because we didn't get 4 more good things that came with it. I know on an earlier podcast episode, I think it was with Debbie Squizero, we were talking about gratitude and how gratitude brings more into your life and how it's so important to have that gratefulness in your life. And some days I'm really great about waking up and doing a gratitude journal, or right before bed, listing them off in my head. Then there's other times, like these last 3 weeks, that I've had beating myself up, only focusing on the negative things. So I was journaling the other day and it was so powerful. I journal often to connect with my guides. And I was basically saying, I'm unsure what I need to be doing right now. I feel like I want and wish for these certain things, and I listed them. And then I feel like I was saying I was impatient, and I didn't know what to do. And my guides asked me clear as day, what do you have right now? And I got emotional because I realized, and it's a theme in my life, that I get in these times where there's like a month or two where things aren't going the way I want them to, right? The expectations. So I feel like I'm having a terrible time, like nothing's going my way, like, oh, poor me, like victim mindset. And I realized that the past 3 weeks I have not really sat down and thought about all the things that are going well for me. And that's so important because that's what brings us out of this. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't, especially with my business, been focusing on the things that are going well. Another thing that I I haven't focused on are like the new moon circles, because every month I'm like, this is going to be the one that sells out. This is going to be the one that sells out. Like, it's going to be 20 women, like packed, like full. It's going to be full. And then I'll have anywhere they've ranged from one person, two, three, five, or six. And I'm like, I'm looking back and I'm like, even the beginning when I started this, I did start with like one person, or I even had a couple that 0 people showed up and I still ran them just myself. And I'm like, I should be proud of that. Like, that is growth, right? We also have this society that's instant gratification. We want things right away and we're always constantly comparing ourselves. So I see all these other spiritual healers on Instagram absolutely crushing it. And I think, oh, like, why, like, when am I going to be there? And it's, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 25. And it was so crazy, you guys too. I'm sharing like everything with you this week. I pulled a card last night and I got this card, 4 of Cups. And it's so funny because I was visualizing this card in my head, like I was seeing it as I was shuffling the deck, and I couldn't remember what it meant. And it was 4 of Cups. It's about greed and discontent. And I have to read you guys this description in the book. An outsider would look upon your life and see supportive relationships, pleasures, and even a bit of luxury. But you don't see it that way. Instead, there's discontentment, apathy, and even greed for more. The 4 of Cups warns not to take your situation for granted or the people who supported you along the way. Look around you. What are you truly longing for? Name it. So I thought that was so interesting because it was after I came to the realization of all this, and then I pulled that card that basically reiterated how I had been kind of greedy and discontent with the way things were going. But this whole time I wasn't looking at all the things that were going right. So I'm here to remind you this week, if you're kind of in the same boat where you have all these expectations of how you want your life to be going and they're not going that way, I encourage you to take a step back and write down all the things that are going right. What do you have that is going right? I'm sure you can name at least 3, at least, and that's minimum. And focus on those and be grateful for those. Thank yourself, thank your spirit guides, thank your God, whatever you feel like you need to thank them for the things that are going right. Don't beat yourselves up. And I am stealing this quote from Danielle Serenk because I just started my mediumship development course, and I started this last night, and all this stuff about expectations kept popping up. So release your expectations and go at everything with an open heart and open mind. The moment we can release expectations and come at every situation with an open heart and open mind, we are able to get so much more out of every situation. And that is everything in life, not just your business, not just your life, even expectations with how you want your day to go. Like, you wake up and you immediately have this list of things in your head that you want to get done for the day. It's, I need to work out, I'm going to work, after work I need to do laundry, blah blah blah. And then along the way you get stuck in traffic for maybe an hour. And that immediately ruins your day because you're like, oh, like now I'm going to be behind. I needed to get all of this stuff done. And if we look back at what maybe the root cause of that frustration it was having the expectation that you needed to get all of these things done in one day. So let's release the expectations, come at everything with an open heart and open mind, see where the day takes you, because it's exactly where you need to be going. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. I ask anybody listening, if you like the podcast, to give it a review, share it with others so I can grow the podcast. That's the best way to do it. And if you haven't already, give me a follow on Instagram at Alexis East Healing. Everywhere else is Alexis East Intuitive Healing. You can book appointments for virtual Reiki, medium readings, and tarot card readings on my website, alexiseastintuitivehealing.com, or through the link in my Instagram bio. Thank you so much for listening, and happy healing to you all. Until next week. Bye.